I'm 44 years old. My first grade teacher at Drapers Valley Presbyterian Church, Elizabeth Whitman, she had no clue as she sat there and went through the catechism the Westminster Shorter Catechism that we went through every week. She had no clue that I would end up a pastor in Cleveland, Ohio. And that my greatest desire was that my kids would grow up to love Jesus as much as I love Jesus, as much as my wife loves Jesus, and as much as she did, because she was serving in that. She had no clue, but she did it, and it took 40 years. I mean, the first century Christians didn't see how it was going to flesh out. Like, they were hoping, and that's what they were living into. They didn't know what was going to happen, because this is the kind of value that actually takes a generation or two to really start fleshing itself out. But, we're here for the long haul. In Matthew 22, Jesus asked the question, what's the most important commandment? And Jesus says, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, mind. And of course, Jesus is referencing Deuteronomy 6. And in Deuteronomy 6, that's the same answer, the greatest commandment. But then what immediately follows that is that parents are supposed to impress that teaching community-wide. Like, they're supposed to put that teaching in written form. They're supposed to talk about it constantly. They're supposed to put it on doorposts. It's supposed to be kind of completely wrapped around the community. And a school like Garden Christian Academy really does that. It captures at a young age the hearts and minds of kids and points them in the direction of Jesus. And it becomes a piece of what we do at the church, what we do as parents, and now we add that other piece of the kids being at school 40 hours a week. Let's say a family comes to Christ and they begin to attend church. They need a lot of help helping form their kids because they may not have grown up in that kind of culture, and they can do that. God, the Holy Spirit really works to do that kind of thing. But a school like GCA, in a neighborhood where families are beginning to do that, it can have such a huge value in these families, helping these families figure this stuff out. In a community like this, that's important. Over 66% of families in certain parts of this neighborhood have no dad present. And the kind of devastation that wreaks on families, it feeds into generational poverty that goes on and on and on, and it can devastate whole communities. And a school like this, with dedicated teachers teaching this way, it can begin to turn that around. It can begin to shape neighborhoods for human flourishing, for well-being, shalom. So we've always wanted to keep our kids in the local schools, and we've had our kids in local schools. And over the course of the last several years, having Cameron in school, we wanted more for him. We felt like there were some certain needs that he had that weren't being met. So we were looking for something already. We wanted something different. We didn't even know what it was. And so we heard about Garden Christian Academy, that it was a school that was focusing on classical Christian education, that it was going to be in the neighborhood for kids in the neighborhood, which we are that. And then also just our relationship with the founders of the school and how much we valued their love and their commitment to this neighborhood as well. And that made all the difference for us. Honestly, we are so happy that we did. And we talk to people all the time like, hey, you should look at Garden Christian Academy because he loves it here. He loves his friends. He loves what he's learning. He is thriving in a way that he never was thriving in another school district. To hear him walking through the house, humming a hymn that's, 100 years old is pretty cool. He was like, hey, Dad, do you know as a deer pants for water? And I'm like, yeah, Psalm 42. He goes, yeah, we're singing a song about that. I'm like, that's cool.